Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
The unraveled story we have today is taking place just before Jesus' healing journey in Galilee commences in earnest. And it's a story that describes how we deal with shame and how Jesus deals with it. And how Jesus' way of being present with shame can transform shame into hope, healing the wounds that we carry inside. Now, having to travel through Samaria en route from Judea to Galilee, Jesus rests at midday at Jacob's well, and that's in the present-day West Bank territory. His conversation with the Samaritan woman is the longest conversation with anyone of Jesus, the longest conversation of Jesus with anyone in the Bible. And that's pretty remarkable, given that this woman would score quite highly on the undesirable attributes scale, if such a thing ever existed. She is a woman, she's a Samaritan, she had 5 husbands, she lives in sin with man number 6. It's hard to imagine anyone less appropriate for Jesus to talk to. What's striking me about the passage, though, isn't the nature of the woman herself, because to me what the woman represents is all the way we feel shame and we feel outcast, but the process of the conversation. Any conversation starts with the first move. It's one of the interlocutors who approaches the other. In this example, it makes sense that Jesus is the one who makes the first move, because he's in the culturally dominant position. But because he is in the culturally dominant position, there is no need for him to even recognize the woman, to even consider her at all. So the first move is a deliberate choice. It's a deliberate approach. He also approaches a woman who communicates that she might not want to be approached. Now, this woman is at the well, lunchtime, beating sun, avoiding all the other women of the village. It might be that this is the only place she feels safe, a place where she is not seen. It's a place where she feels safe from the stares of others, from backs being turned on her, and safe from the knowledge that once the others get back to the village, they have a right old gossip about her. When we feel shame, we go underground, we hide away, and we hope that we are not seen. Jesus, however, seeks us out and finds us out, finds her out, and approaches us. I hold this little card very dear. I found this a number of years ago, or maybe it found me, I don't know. It says, bidden or not bidden, God is present. And the woman at the well, she most certainly didn't bid for God's presence. But Jesus was there anyway. And when someone comes close to our shame, to my shame, what we want to do is we want to push them away. Nothing to see here. Move on. Don't look at me. And this is exactly what the woman does by reminding Jesus of their social differences. You are a Jew, I'm a Samaritan. Why are you asking me for a drink? Just move on already. But rather than pulling back, Jesus persists. And not only that, he makes the offer of living water. The way he makes his offer is interesting. He says, if you knew who was asking you for water, you would have asked him, and he would have given you the living water. Shame about who we are keeps us from asking for things. For the woman at the well, I wonder how many times in the past she had to ask, perhaps even to beg, just in order to survive. As a woman, she didn't have the right to work, Without a husband, she was utterly dependent on the support of others. She would need to keep asking, never knowing whether the help she requested would be granted or whether she would be turned away. It's no surprise that she didn't dare to ask for anything. And here Jesus says to her, ask me, ask me. And this offer is so far away from her experience that she cannot but bat it away again by challenging Jesus. She challenges him with her survivor's pragmatism. Where's your bucket then? How are you going to get that water? And she challenges his status. So she tries to keep pushing Jesus away, but Jesus keeps approaching. Another way we deal with shame is that we try to fix the deep and genuine need we have to be seen in our entirety, by means that are really inadequate for the purpose. We try to fix it with money, with status, with relationships, with substances sometimes with distractions, just to divert our attention and our gaze from what it is we're really hungry for. And people are all too happy to join in that game. But not Jesus. Jesus names her thirst for the well inside, for the water that gives her life and that takes away the shame of having to go to the well. And he names the thing that gets in the way. Go and get your husband, he says. Ouch, putting his finger right on the sore spot. You see, the real uncomfortable thing about shame is that it can only be healed when it's acknowledged. If you have heard about 12-step programs, for example, that are often used for addiction, the very first step, the big challenge, is to even acknowledge that there is a problem. It's the ability to say, I am an alcoholic, I am a gambling addict, I carry that shame with me. And it's a big hurdle to be honest to start with. And that's exactly what Jesus asks the woman to do. No more hiding, he's naming it. And this is when the woman becomes a bit of a hero for me, because how easy would it have been for her to say, he's unwell, he's out of town, he's on some business trip, rather than to reveal the truth she is judged for. But she doesn't. Instead, she plainly says, I have no husband. And when I imagine that scene taking place, I have different kind of melodies of her voice in my head. Either a timid admission, the head lowered, nearly whispered, I have no husband. Or defiant, halfway towards anger, I have no husband. You know, that says, here I go again, once more will I be judged and pushed away. Or a matter-of-fact statement, all emotions taken out, because what's the point in feeling anything about her messy life? She knows she will be judged. Only Jesus? He does not judge, neither condemning nor commiserating, neither one way nor the other. Simply acknowledging that she had spoken the truth, and then revealing that he had already known her, even before the very start of the conversation. How did that feel to the woman, I wonder, to hear that her shame was known so intimately and not judged? A new and a frightening place. He has seen through me. That's why she calls him a prophet. The way shame can warp our sense of ourselves and tries to persuade us into somehow deserving judgment means that we buy into it. And it can feel so much easier to bear the familiar pain of rejection by the familiar people than to take risk with the unknown. So Jesus is pushed away once again when she challenges him on whether the Jews or the Samaritans are right in their choice of place of worship. Surely, in some way, he will consider me wrong, she thinks, and I will be back at this old, familiar place of rejection. But Jesus does not enter into the right or wrong game, but again pulls her from the physical level to the spiritual level, where the categories simply no longer matter. And when that finally sinks in, she's transformed. No longer avoiding the other women in the village, she actually approaches them, and lo and behold, and we didn't see that in the reading, it's the next verse after, they follow her. They don't push her away, they follow her and come and see Jesus. What a topsy-turvy experience for her. Shame transformed becomes hope. And this is very, very beautifully expressed in a video, a piece of spoken art by Erin Moon that we're going to have up on the screen now. Let's hope that the tech works.
I am a woman of no distinction, of little importance. I am a woman of no reputation save that which is bad. You whisper as I pass by and cast judgmental glances, though you don't really take the time to look at me or even get to know me. For to be known is to be loved, and to be loved is to be known, and otherwise what's the point in doing either one of them in the first place? I want to be known. I want someone to look at my face and not just see 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, and 2 ears, but to see all that I am and could be, all my hopes, loves, and fears. That's too much to hope for, to wish for, or pray for, so I don't, not anymore. Now I keep to myself, and by that I mean the pain that keeps me in my own private jail, the pain that's brought me here at midday to this well. To ask for a drink is no big request, but to ask it of me, a woman unclean, ashamed, used and abused, an outcast, a failure, a disappointment, a sinner. No drink passing from these hands to your lips could ever be refreshing, only condemning, as I'm sure you condemn me now, but you don't. You're a man of no distinction, though of the utmost importance, a man with little reputation, at least so far. You whisper and tell me to my face what all those glances have been about, and you take the time to really look at me, but don't need to get to know me, for to be known is to be loved, and to be loved is to be known, and you know me. You actually know me, all of me and everything about me, every thought inside and hair on top of my head, every hurt stored up, every hope, every dread, my past and my future, all I am and could be. You tell me everything. You tell me about me. And that which is spoken by another would bring hate and condemnation. Coming from you brings love, grace, mercy, hope, and salvation. I've heard of one to come who would save a wretch like me, and here in my presence you say, I am he. To be known is to be loved, and to be loved is to be known. And I just met you, but I love you. I don't know you, but I want to get to. Let me run back to town. This is way too much for just me. There are others, brothers, sisters, lovers, haters, the good and the bad, sinners and saints, who should hear what you've told me, who should see what you've shown me, who should taste what you gave me, who should feel how you forgave me. For to be known is to be loved, and to be loved is to be known. And they all need this too. We all do need it for our own.
To be known is to be loved, and to be loved is to be known. It's powerful stuff. There's a second angle I'd like to address now, and that's the role of the others in the story. The other women, the disciples, and ourselves as readers. You see, one of the interesting things about the story is that we do not know what happened to the woman. Did her husbands die? Or did they divorce her? Was she too quick to jump into bed with men? Did she suffer domestic abuse, used and discarded? Was she infertile? Was she a victim or a perpetrator or a mixture of both? And when I read interpretations on the woman in the well story, both perspectives are mentioned by people who do sermons on the topic. And Freud, who has said many things that I don't think are so okay, has a specific name for this, which is the Madonna whore complex. In a male-dominated world, there can be the need to put women either in the role of Madonna, which is a virtuous, pure, and chaste woman that can be loved and adored by everyone, or in the role of the whore, promiscuous or seductive. And whether the woman is seen as a Madonna or as a whore says much more about the people who judge than about the woman herself. You see, when somebody else's way of living is in some way more shameful or more problematic than my own, then I can feel good about myself. I can feel like a good person, like someone who is not her. And can't you just hear the prim and proper women who talk about her, who judge everything that doesn't sit comfortably within their moral order and their moral structure? And the disciples, I love this sentence. I think this is one of my favorite sentences of the passage. They were surprised to find him talking with a woman, but no one said, "What do you want?" or "Why are you talking to her?" Like all people, the disciples were rooted in their social structure. And the fact that they were surprised indicates that they felt the transgression of the normal order. And that's what we do. When something happens that kind of doesn't fit with the way we see the social order, we feel it. We have an emotional reaction. So the disciples were surprised. But they held their tongue. They suspended judgment as best as they could, learning from Jesus how judgments and divisions can be transcended when we drop down to a spiritual level. When we want to approach, not to avoid. It's a continuous journey and one that I pray for often. Teach me how to judge less. And the way I can learn this is if I keep being in touch with my shame, with the things that I don't want anyone to see, that I don't want you to see either. If I can bear to let God approach these sore points as the woman did, not only do I understand that I am still approachable, valuable, indeed lovable, but I also learn to be softer on others. And I'm convinced that this is how we can build God's kingdom, by approaching, not avoiding, by naming, not hiding, and by tending to our pain. Amen. Let's sing.